Welcome to 805 Sports Talk. I'm Joe Bailey. Alongside me is Elliott Stern. We got a big show planned for you guys last week. You may notice, though, that our crew looks a little bit different. Kenny Kress and Jacob Rayburn aren't able to be here today. Jacob's covering the District 65 championship game, and Kenny is taking a well-earned break. You may have noticed last week I wasn't here as well, and Elliott, I know you guys held it down, had a good show without me here.
Well, we always have fun, but it's that time of year where we have to try to sneak in a few days off for each of us because as busy as it is now with the Little League, Babe Ruth playoffs, and the other things that we're going to be talking about today, it's going to get even crazier in the near future. So we're all trying to get a little bit of time off between now and when the fall previews begin and the fall seasons kick off for real here in the Central Coast.
Yeah, and it has been a crazy week or two with a local baseball District 65 tournament championship, coverage of that, coverage of Babe Ruth baseball, Santa Maria Babe Ruth 15-year-olds won. We'll hit on all that stuff, and also some kart racing. You visited one prestigious historic memorabilia show, and some extra Olympic coverage as well. So thanks for tuning in. And hold on. Our first story for this week is Josh Prenot. Many of you may have heard that he qualified for the Olympics, and he just didn't qualify. He set an American record in the process, and I had a chance to catch up with him right after he won, and he kind of talked me through what his approach is for the Olympics, what it was like to win on that stage, win at the Olympic trials, and it's going to be really interesting following him in the run-up to the Olympics. It's a couple weeks away from competition, so check this out and see how he feels about making the Rio Games.
Pretty crazy over here on the Central Coast, seeing all the support and all the reaction from people who are real excited to see what you did. What's it been like, the last couple hours?
Yeah, it's been unreal to see all the support coming from the 805. Yeah, my Facebook's just been blowing up all week. With kids from the club back home. That's been awesome to see. Yeah, I saw the video of the library, and that was awesome. I'm glad they did that. Yeah, as far as last night, that was definitely the most nervous I've ever been for a swimming race. Anything, really.
Okay.
That was my last race in the meet. That was my last chance to make the team. And if I got third or worse, I was going to have to wait 4 more years, which is not ideal. So, yeah, I was feeling the nerves in the ready room pretty heavy, but I tried to just, take that ready room time to remind myself that I kind of know what I'm doing out here, trust the work that me and my coaches have put in, and just stick to the race strategy. Which, I honestly, I wrote down, what my ideal splits would be for a 200 breaststroke earlier this season, and that's kind of how we've been training to try to achieve those, and I pretty much hit it dead on last night. All stroke counts, cycle counts, tempos, splits, everything was pretty much as ideal as I could ask for. So I don't know if I can ever put a race together that perfectly again. So that's what I will be trying to do in Rio in a couple weeks.
Lycone and Cordis and yourself are pretty much neck and neck. Are you looking at your competitor those last 50 meters, or are you just going for the touchpad? What kind of talk me through those last 50 meters or so? Yeah,
I think it was fortunate that I had Kevin next to me. I knew that he would be going out on the lead. That's typically what he does. He's really, really strong in the first 100 meters. So it was kind of good to be able to, pace myself off of that. But yeah, I was just really relaxed through the first 125 meters. And I started to just build the tempo from there, which was the plan. And yeah, I'm just really happy that I wasn't out of the race by the time there was 75 left to go, where the finishing kick actually allowed me to overtake people.
I saw you kind of look up and you heard over the speaker that it was an American record. What was kind of your thought when you heard that and you saw that you had won?
Yeah. Your goggles like get a little fogged up during the race. You can't see the scoreboard super well. So there's always, I mean, you can probably see this in a lot of swimming races. Especially you're breathing looking straight forward, so you can't really tell if you've won or not.
Uh-huh.
So there's a little pause between touching the wall, looking up at the scoreboard, and making sure that fist pump is warranted before actually throwing it down.
Okay.
But yeah, that was just elation. Just all the hours of work paying off, all the decisions being worth it. Yeah, I mean, it feels really good to train like you're the best in the world, like you can compete with those guys for 2 straight years now and finally be able to put together a race that proves that that's true.
Are you ready to go to Rio? Are you nervous? I know a lot of people have been talking about, Rio is kind of a dicey situation, I guess is one way to put it. How do you feel as reality kind of sunken in now that you got to get ready for this and you got to go to Rio? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. I'm pretty sure everyone at this meet, except maybe like Phelps, would agree that the nerves here are way worse than the actual Olympics. Like, this is way higher stakes.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just going to enjoy the hell out of being in Rio. It's going to be sweet. All the corruption and scandal and just generally Brazil doing a bad job stuff, I'm not too worried about. Fortunately, swimming is pretty much the most popular sport at the Summer Games, so they typically take care of you pretty well. Pretty sure all I'm really going to see is the athlete village in the pool. Yeah, all that stuff I'm fine with. I'm hyped to get out there, and what's really weird to me is like the guys that I've been watching race footage of all year, trying to imitate them, are seated behind me in the 200 breaststroke. So like they're gonna swim their prelims races before me. I'm going in as the top seed, which is very weird and unexpected for me, but I hope I handle those expectations well.
Thanks, Josh, for taking some time to talk to me. I know it's been quite a hectic couple of weeks for you, qualifying for the Olympics, and kind of switching gears a little bit, Elliott. I know you went out to the Santa Maria Airport track to catch some kart racing this weekend.
Yeah, they had 2 days, Friday and Saturday, of just exciting go-kart racing. The International Karting Federation was made its first visit to Santa Maria since 2008. Now, the Santa Maria track is considered one of the best in the West, and the IKF was a regular visitor, would have at least one national championship every year, the 2-cycle, the 4-cycle, the shifter cars, and then the track went dark for a couple of years. It's now back. It's back in action. It's been maintained beautifully, and so the IKF was back here for the first time since 2008 with their 2016 2-cycle national championships at the Santa Maria Kart Association track on the grounds of the Santa Maria Public Airport.
Today went very well. I won qualifying pretty convincingly by a second, which they call it a Screaming Eagle Award for the top qualifier. And then the heat race went really well. We led every lap from start to finish, won by a convincing lead, and then the main went also well, led from flag to flag and had at least a half-track lead. So all in all, it was a good day.
So now you've got a Duffy.
Yes.
How many does that make?
This is going to be my 4th Duffy and my 3rd Screaming Eagle.
How do you maneuver around this course? Do you know how many turns there are? 13, 14?
I think it's 13 turns around this track.
Do you just drive, or do you plan ahead that you've got to make a left, right, or?
No, I usually just drive.
You were side by side at the finish line.
Yeah.
You were 1/10 of a second. That's what, about the length of maybe your bumper?
Probably not even that.
Yeah. Now, is this your first championship?
No.
You get a Duffy, right?
Yeah.
So how many Duffys have you got?
This is my third.
Third Duffy. How about any Screaming Eagles?
I think I have maybe 2 or 3.
Now, tell me what this car is. It's a mini?
It's a mini Swift.
Mini Swift.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's basically just a faster mini rock. That's really all it is.
And is it 100cc?
It's a 60cc.
60cc. Now, how fast do you get to go in this thing? 40, 45?
Lancaster, the speed thingy.
You can get up?
The Lancaster, the speed thingy got me at 70.
So this is a pretty fast car.
Yeah.
And you like riding it, driving it?
Yeah.
So while Scoffle was second in Saturday's race, he did win the national championship Friday in the KPV4 heavy race. And St. Joe grad Kyle Bloom was a longtime rival and friend of Scoffle, and he was also out there. Now, he was injured in a bizarre crash on Friday and didn't get to race in the KPV4 heavy that the Scoffle won, but he was back Saturday and came in fourth with some sore ribs to Scoffle in that race. Now, the president of the IKF was there, and he told me that they love this track, they love the weather, they love the people here in Santa Maria, and now that the track is up and running and is back in a full-time mode, they will definitely be back at least once a year for more IKF national championships. So we've got that to look forward to down the road. Now, also something that we can look back on is the history of the Santa Maria Valley, the sports history. There's a club called the Santa Maria Sports Club that three gentlemen started a few years ago, and they've been collecting sports memorabilia. They started with stuff from the 50s, and now they go back to the 40s and the 30s. And Eddie Navarro is one of the people that's trying to keep the history of the Santa Maria Valley sports scene alive. And he talked to me the other day at the memorabilia show at the Elks Club about why he and his friends started the club. Why did you start this?
Well, because actually Ernie Corral's the one that got me going on, being the, showed me a scrapbook of Teddy Davidson, who played for the old Little League ball here, and then showed me a scrapbook from the 1950s and just got us going on it. And I played sports here and then just remember a lot of the legends that played way back in the day. And we like to keep these guys alive, through our displays, we have the guys that went on to the pros, and we're very proud of them, but we have a lot of guys that didn't make it to the pros, and those are the guys we like to really highlight too, and keep alive. And we got some 90-year-olds that are here today that come out and support us and bring some stuff, and we just like to, through our displays, keep their memories alive, for their grandkids and for the youth of our community, to, like I say, keep them in mind.
I know you're very involved with the youth in the community through different Elks Hoop Shoot, Elks Soccer Shoot. So are you bringing this memorabilia to the schools? I know you call this a traveling road show. So where else are you planning to go with it?
Well, we the library we get in for a month at a time. The historical museum we got some stuff over there permanently, and we do a display there for a month of a particular sport. And anytime we can do something like this, we got a place. You got a garage you want to open up, we'll take it over there and set it up. Ernie Corral and Al Ramos and Joe Tologan from Guadalupe, who has a sports museum, Guadalupe Sports Museum that he has, and we all do it together, and we all bring our stuff together and show it off. We love to show these guys off. Yeah.
This place is packed. I mean, it's pretty much wall to wall with photos. There's some sports equipment. I see Scoop Noon's old jacket, the legendary Santa Maria Indians general manager. Right. There's a lot of history here.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that we got still in boxes, and stuff that we haven't brought out. God willing, one of these days, what we're looking forward to, hopefully in my lifetime, is to have a Santa Maria Valley Sports Hall museum, a permanent one that anybody can go to throughout the course, and enjoy. And like I say, we keep these guys alive, so that's what we'd love to have one of these days, not just be able to come, because a lot of people can't make it on certain times, and that's why we do it whenever we can, so people that didn't make one, they can make the next one. So, because we have a lot of people that usually come but that couldn't make it today. So, but I've had good coaches in my life, and that's what I've always said, that they were set really good examples for me, and that's why I enjoy doing what I do, because they gave to me, and I love to give back what they gave to me. And through the help of Al and Ernie Corral and Joe, we're able to do that through our displays. So, and with the help of you guys, to help us out and get it out to the community, I mean, it's nice.
So Eddie and his club members are going to continue to gather sports memorabilia from the Valley, from the athletes and the clubs that have been here over the years, and look for them down the road. They'll be bringing the sports memorabilia show somewhere in the near future, and you really should get out. It's fascinating, the things they have on display. You should get to see them and see the rich history of the Santa Maria Valley sports scene. But then there's other things that we should talk about too. There's nationals things, some pretty significant things happened nationally, and of course there's the local baseball scene. Eddie Navarro has baseball artifacts from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, but there's a lot still going on today.
Yeah, some kids are kind of making history of their own. Nowadays, Santa Maria 15-year-old Babe Ruth won in Reedley Tuesday night. They beat Kerr West 2 games in a row to claim that championship, and that's a state championship. Isaac Baez, who some of you guys may know, is a St. Joseph baseball player. I think he just wrapped up his sophomore year, so definitely look out for that kid over the next couple of years on the high school level. But he had a big hand in helping that team win a state championship, and the Santa Maria 13, 14, and 15-year-olds, that's kind of the top unit, will host the Pacific Southwest tournament starting July 22nd at Elks Field, so that's really cool that they won, and that now they get to host a tournament next week. So that'll be really cool to see how that all goes, and if they can keep it going. Those 15-year-olds are good. I know they have Blake Truitt from Santa Maria. I think Trevor Garcia is still on that team. A lot of good young players that you've been hearing about, and I know some other local teams also had some success at the Babe Ruth level. The
Orchid 13s also won their Central California State Championship. They were playing in Madera, and they were playing in mostly 100-degree heat, although last night's game was a cool 95. But they also won. They had some crazy games. They had extra inning games. They scored 5 runs in last night's game with 1 single and a whole bunch of walks. But they brought home the championship, and they too will be moving on to the state games. And they've got a ton of kids that have been contributing. Timmy Trankel, Josh Navarro. There's a whole list of kids that you'll read about in the Santa Maria Times that contributed, but their pitching was good. Their fielding was outstanding. They committed 1 error over the final 2 games, none in the championship game. And they really needed that fielding because they weren't playing patsies. These teams that were playing were really good teams, and they gave them a battle every time. But they played long games late into the night, and it was worth it for them to stay up late because they're coming home with a championship.
And it's an interesting time of the summer because this week after the MLB All-Star Game, there's pretty much no live coverage of any national sports, and I think that's why they kind of have the ESPYs on the day after the All-Star Game, because I don't think there's any national games today. No baseball, no NBA, obviously, no NHL. So it's pretty interesting time of the year to see that. And I know with that being said, a lot of people are interested in the All-Star Game because that's pretty much the only show in town. So it was really interesting to see the home run derby. Giancarlo Stanton won that with a crazy performance. He's a California kid. I think he played at Harvard Westlake. He's from the Panorama City. So to see a California kid kind of do that, a big performance was a lot of fun. The All-Star game was also really cool to see. Eric Hosmer won MVP honors. I think Mike Trout, had another hit in that game. He won the 2 straight All-Star game MVPs, I think, before this year, before Hosmer won. So it was a lot of fun to see the All-Star game. It's pretty much the only show in town. It's a summer classic. So that was a lot of fun to watch. Just catching a classic game like that, even though there was a little controversy before the game, but it was still a fun game to watch.
Yeah, Trout got a hit for the 5th straight All-Star game. So his 5-game All-Star hitting streak is one of the top ones of all time. And I'm sure he hopes to keep that going. Chris Bryant from the Cubs had a home run in his very first at-bat, and he's one of a handful of guys to have a home run in their very first All-Star at-bat. So it was a fun game. It was only 4-2, and of course it was strange that because they've given National League ballparks the All-Star game 4 straight years, they want to alternate who's the National League, American League, who's the home team. So the American League was the home team in the National League ballpark, even though, of course, it was played in San Diego. So next year, the National League will be the home team in a National League ballpark, but the year after, we'll see this happen again. And one thing about Stanton, he hit a ton of home runs. Was it something like 61? I mean,
yeah.
It was a crazy number, and he didn't even make the All-Star team. He's been an All-Star, and he's a great hitter, and he showed it during the All-Star game. But it's fun, and like you said, because of the way their schedule breaks out, the day after the All-Star game is one of the very few days in the entire year where there's nothing in the way of professional sports. Unless you want to count the Tour de France, but I'm not sure that most people think of that as a big-time sport anymore now that Lance Armstrong first retired and then was disgraced. And there's a whole lot of people that are still suspect of that sport, whether it's clean or not. But in the sports that most people follow, football, basketball, even NBA Summer League basketball, it's a quiet day in the world of sports. But there's still things happening. Tim Duncan retired.
Yeah.
So different from Kobe Bryant. Kobe had a victory tour, or one of those laps. Big Papi, David Ortiz. Everybody's honoring him every stop he goes at because it's his last year in baseball, and Kobe got that treatment. In basketball, Duncan played the whole year and then retired. Just the way his whole career went. Understated, a leader, but not a fiery leader. He just did it by example. But he had a marvelous career.
Yeah, I think people kind of underrate how good he was, how athletic he was, and people call him, I guess Shaq gave him the nickname, the big fundamental. But, and he did have those fundamental games. You think about that 15-foot bank shot that he was kind of, known for. But he was just a freak. He was almost, about 7 feet tall. He could run the floor, and one of the greatest defensive players of all time, and had a great, really polished offensive game. Just one of those guys that you love to see. And I think people just kind of made fun of him for being boring, for being so fundamentally sound, but what he did was great. He was freakishly athletic. He could have been an Olympic swimmer, was what he was going to be, when he was growing up. But in St. Croix, I think, and then the pool got damaged, and he just happened to start playing basketball. So it was just a great story. It's an amazing story. He went on to have an amazing 19-year career. You see guys like Kevin Durant switch teams and they start burning his jersey. There will never ever be a Tim Duncan jersey that will be burnt, So that's cool to see a guy like that in this day and age who's stuck with one team and had so much success. People talk about Kobe or all the success he had, but I'd probably take Tim Duncan over Kobe, to be honest with you. Just a guy who's there every year, great defensive player, great offensive player, MVP, final MVPs, So I have the utmost respect for what Tim Duncan did, and I think he's right up there with Kobe.
5 championships. Kobe, 20 years with one team. Duncan, 19 years with one team. You just don't see that in pro sports. But in this case, 2 of them, and they're going to retire at the same time, which means they will go into the Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famers. 5 years from now, they'll be introduced, I'm sure of it, on the same night. as NBA Hall of Famers. But I agree with you. I think that Kobe Bryant was the better scorer, but I think Tim Duncan was the overall better player and the better teammate. And look at the success that they've had in San Antonio. A small market team, doesn't have the glitz or glamour of the Lakers or Los Angeles, but they got 5 championships, and they did it Greg Popovich's way. And the guys sacrificed for the team. They took less money so that they could fill the roster with complementary players. And it worked for them, and they will see. But I just have to feel that the way they've structured that team, they were looking ahead to this day, and they will just continue without missing a beat. They'll miss Duncan. They'll miss him a lot as a player, as a person, but I don't think they're going to miss a beat on the court.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But that's our show for the week. Thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure to check out all our coverage. You know, for the weekend and the rest of this week, got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of youth baseball still happening, you know, a lot of camps, a lot of summer stuff going on. I know there's even summer water polo, stuff like that we'll be covering over the next couple weeks. And of course, we'll start ramping up our fall season coverage, so make sure to tag along and check out our coverage.
Yeah, you'll be able to see it right here at SantaMariaTimes.com, online and in print in the Santa Maria Times and Lompoc Record. So make sure you check out our print and our online coverage, and we'll see you next week right here at 805 Sports Talk.